Parashat Chayei Sara. It's the final week of the Avraham narratives. What is the old man concerned about? The next generation. The journey he began all those years earlier needs someone to continue it. This has been a prime concern of Avraham from the very beginning, almost since Parashat Lech Lecha begins, and Hashem gives him his promises that he'll make him great and be a father of a big nation and will inherit the land. And Avraham wants to know, yeah, that's great, I'll follow you, but who's taking over from me? Jump forward to Parashat Chayei Sara. The arcadas behind us. Tragically, Sara is no longer, and Abraham's an old man wanting to see who's going to take over. So who were his options? Option number one was Lot. I mean, that seemed to be an obvious suggestion back in Parashat Lech Lecha, the nephew who had followed him on his journey, but Lot seems to be more interested in the luxuries of Sodom and money and a different lifestyle altogether. And so Lot, nephew and uncle, part company. Ishmael's an option, Abraham's biological child, but again, he gets pushed to one side. So it must be Yitzchak, the child of his old age, from his wife Sara. Brilliant, wonderful. How are we going to make that happen? Yitzchak's got a problem. He can't just go traipsing around the different countries in the area, waiting by a well, as seems to be the common practice back in the day, to find a wife. He wasn't allowed to leave the country, so cue the matchmaker. Matchmaker, make me a match. Who is this matchmaker? So we know the Medrash tells us it's Eliezer, Eved Avraham. Eliezer, Avraham's servant. But what does the Torah call him in this week's parasha? Eved Avraham. He doesn't get a name. It's only within the Torah Shabbat Peh tradition that he gets a name. But why would that be? See, the problem we have in thinking of an Eved is that our modern association with the slave trade and some of the most awful aspects of the human condition and how people were treated back in the day. To be an Eved Avraham, that's something different. Eliezer was 100% devoted to Avraham. But he also was a potential to be an heir. Lot was kicked out. Ishmael wasn't the right one. What about his devoted houseman? The one who looked after his manager, essentially, who looked after everything. He followed Avraham. He was devoted to Avraham. No doubt he knew all the Divrei Torah of Avraham. He could have well taken over, but that was never going to be. Hashem had promised Avraham that Yitzchak would take over. In order to make sure that we don't misjudge any of Eliezer's behavior, not his fancy little test at the well that perhaps would make things really complicated, or when he was speaking to Lavan and him being difficult in the negotiations. I think, hey, this Eliezer, he knows that he's in the running. You know that he could take over. If there's no wife for Yitzchak, then I'll be the one that'll take over. The Torah reminds us this very same character who is beyond any incriminating doubts, any gossip, any whispers. He was Eved Avram. He was utterly devoted to Avram Avinu. And he was prepared to accept. Remember, the Medrash tells us that he had a daughter and maybe he really wanted her to marry Yitzchak. But once that was not on the table, this man Eliezer was devoted. If only we could reach the levels of devotion to a life plan, to the Torah, to our community, where the Torah could testify for all time about us with the Eved of Hashem. We say Shabbat morning that Moshe Rabbeinu was Eved Ne'eman, was a trustworthy Eved of Hashem. We've got the Eved Avraham today. Let's aspire this Shabbat with the echo of the word Eved, one to Moshe Rabbeinu, one Lahavdil to Eliezer, to be that devoted person we know we can. Shabbat Shalom.